I'm not trying to control you, I said, though my voice was shaking. I'm just asking why you need to go out every night. She grabbed her clutch from the counter without looking at me. If you don't like my choices, leave, she snapped, the words sharp enough to slice the last threads holding us together. Then she walked out, heels tapping, perfume lingering, door slamming too hard for a wife who wasn't already halfway gone. For a long moment I just stood there in the kitchen, staring at the door like it might swing open again and rewind everything. The quiet felt thick, pressing against my ribs, filling my chest with something dark and heavy. The lights hummed, the refrigerator kicked on, and I realized I was waiting for her footsteps, hoping she'd come back with an apology, or even just a softer expression. But the house stayed silent. I sank into a chair and rubbed my palms over my face. It wasn't just tonight. It had been weeks, maybe months, of little shifts I'd tried to ignore. Her smiles getting sharper. Her phone staying glued to her hand. Her sudden interest in late nights and team bonding. The way she turned her body away when I reached for her. The way she said I was overthinking every time I brought it up. Maybe I was. Or maybe that was what she wanted me to believe. I tried watching a show, scrolling my phone, doing anything to keep my mind from spiraling. But the thought kept looping. If you don't like my choices, leave. Leave. Like I was some box she could just set down when she got bored. By the time it hit 2 a.m. and she still wasn't home, my stomach was in knots. I told myself she'd Uber back, drunk and tired, mumbling half an apology before falling asleep. She'd done it before. I told myself it was harmless then too. But around 2:17 her phone buzzed on the kitchen table. I froze. It was an alert, one of those previews that slips onto the lock screen. A name I didn't recognize and a sentence that made my skin go cold. Had a great time tonight. Same place next week? My throat tightened as I picked up the phone. She never left it at home. Not anymore. That alone felt like a confession. I didn't unlock it. I didn't need to. The message was enough to make something inside me sag. Like a structure finally giving way after months of hidden damage. I set the phone down carefully. Too carefully. Like if I let myself move naturally, I might throw it across the room or punch a hole through the wall. I didn't sleep. I just sat there waiting, my leg bouncing, my mind running ahead of itself and then doubling back. When her key finally turned in the lock, she stumbled in with her heels in her hand and her eyeliner smudged. She saw me sitting there and froze. "You scared me," she said with a tired laugh. "What are you doing up?" I wanted to ask her everything. Instead I said, "You left your phone." Her eyes flicked to the counter. A small mistake. A big reaction. She straightened, suddenly sober. "So?" she asked, her tone sharpening. "So someone texted you? And you read it?" She fired back like that was the crime here. "I saw the preview. It popped up." She rolled her eyes and strode past me, grabbing the phone. "He's just a coworker." "You're being dramatic." "What coworker?" I asked, trying to sound calm. "Which department is he in?" She hesitated. Just a breath. "But enough. You don't know everyone I work with," she said, avoiding my eyes. "What's his name?" She grabbed a glass from the cabinet, filled it with water and took a slow sip. "I'm not doing this tonight. I'm exhausted." She went upstairs without another word. And I sat there, heart pounding, realizing that I'd just watched the truth slip between her fingers like something she didn't even care to hold on to anymore. The next few days were worse than the message itself. She avoided me with practiced ease, leaving early, coming home late, showering before saying hello, keeping her phone face down, locked, passcode changed. Every time she smiled at a notification, something twisted inside my chest. But it was the small things that broke me. The way she flinched when I touched her shoulder. The way she grabbed her purse the second I walked into a room. The way she kept telling me I was imagining things while refusing to meet my eyes. On Friday night, she said she had another team outing. "You don't have to lie anymore," I said softly. She paused at the door. "I'm not lying." "Then tell me who he is." She looked at me like I was a stranger she'd bumped into on the street. Annoyed, inconvenienced. "I don't owe you explanations just because you're insecure." The word insecure hit me like a slap. I wasn't insecure, I was wrecked. There's a difference. She left again and this time I followed. Not immediately. I waited 10 minutes, then grabbed my keys, heart thudding with a mix of dread and something I didn't want to call hope. I parked a block away from the club she'd mentioned once in passing. The air smelled like rain and cigarettes, music thumping faintly through the brick walls. I scanned the line, the entrance, the sidewalk. And then I saw her. Not alone. Laughing, a real laugh, the kind I hadn't heard from her in months. As a man leaned in close, his hand brushing her lower back like he'd done it 100 times. She didn't pull away. She didn't flinch. She didn't hesitate. They moved inside together, their shoulders touching. She looked lighter, freer, like she'd already stepped out of our marriage and closed the door quietly behind her. I didn't follow them inside. I didn't need to. I just sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. The world outside blurred through the windshield as my vision swam. There it was. The truth. No dramatic confrontation. No screaming. Just a quiet, brutal clarity. When she came home around 3, humming under her breath, I was packing a single suitcase. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice flat but her eyes flickering with something, panic or guilt or annoyance, I couldn't tell. "I saw you," I said simply. Her face drained of color. "Saw me how?" "At the club." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "You were spying on me?" I was trying to understand what happened to us. She looked away, rubbing her arms. "It wasn't supposed to. I didn't mean for it to get this far." The words felt like a hand tightening around my ribs. "How far did it get?" I asked. Her silence answered for her. I zipped the suitcase slowly, deliberately. The sound filled the room like a final line being drawn. "So that's it," she whispered. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized she wasn't the woman I married. Maybe she hadn't been for a long time. "I think you left a long time ago," I said. She didn't stop me when I walked past her. Didn't reach for me. Didn't cry. She just stood there with her arms wrapped around herself, like she wasn't sure whether to apologize or defend herself or pretend she didn't care. Outside, the air was cool, the street quiet, the night almost painfully still. My chest hurt, but the kind of hurt that comes with breathing after holding your breath too long. The kind that feels like loss but also like clarity. And as I closed the car door and started the engine, I realized something simple and heartbreaking. Sometimes betrayal doesn't roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it walks out in heels and perfume long before you're willing to see it. And sometimes the hardest part isn't losing the person you loved. It's accepting they were already gone.